In the controlling of feral rabbits, there have been employed many methods. The dry composting toilet is but one of the many. Begin with the shit pot stirring stick, featuring a suitably turned handle. Remove from under the comfortable seat the 30-litre bucket of sheet. Add sufficient water as to permit a reasonably viscous slurry to be produced, which may then be poured as neatly as possible into the receptacle provided. Thus, not only returning nutrients to the soil, I think that might be all we're going to get into that one. It was more of a work in progress than a completely full burrow. So I'll cover that over with soil and cover it over with a rock to guard my neighbour's cattle against walking along here in the grass, sticking a foot down a rabbit hole and breaking a leg. While the other half bucket first receives a little bit more water. Make the slurry a little bit easier to pour. In the interests of penetration, to facilitate pouring into a different hole entirely. And this is a bit of an interesting situation. Here we have a place where a rabbit has prospected several places. There was spoil from a hole dug over there. And then the ground was scratched around. And just there, quite a decent sort of a hole was dug. And it's been backfilled. Now, normally they don't backfill unless they're digging and producing a camouflaged exit. So my theory is somewhere under that pile, or somewhere under that pile, or perhaps somewhere inside the old vegetable garden, there's an actual rabbit burrow or a warren, and this is supposed to be the concealed rear entrance. So I'll see what we find. See how it's really, really easy. Need a smaller shovel to get further down in there, but I can't think of any reason for a rabbit to backfill that hole unless they don't want me to see it, but they do want to be able to dig back up through it from the other side. That's the theory. So, with the aforementioned smaller shovel, yeah, absolutely. It was a plug. That was a plug. See how far down it's going? Up to the end of my arm. In the war against the rabbit, the little bastards are cunning. They are also pretty fair engineers when it comes to tunnelling. Luckily, I come from the species of hillbillies who are not as silly as we look. That is the sort of story that if you tell it in a pub in town without the video, nobody's going to believe you. Because everybody thinks that rabbits are animals, and animals are just dumb automatons, that they can't plan ahead, that they don't have agency, because animals are dumb, right? Yeah. Well, that was a rabbit that had dug an emergency exit tunnel and then backfilled it. And the funniest part of the whole story is that when I started filming, I expected the whole bucket of shit was going to fit. Without any great drama, there we go. That tomato will enjoy that. Bit of fertiliser. So righto, there you go, and now you know, if ever you're caught short in the wilderness, that is the most elegant possible way to bury your turd. You can strike a blow against an officially declared noxious pestilential feral species, an invading feral species. You can get rid of your problem of what to do with your sewage, and you can put some nutrients back into the ground to do a little something to make up for 238 years of European colonisation and consequent soil mining. Under normal, ordinary circumstances, like with this hole, you won't have to do any digging at all, but if you find that one hole isn't enough, if you're an observant kind of a hillbilly, it's entirely likely that you should know where to go to find your spare backup rabbit burrow, even if it is a concealed emergency exit. For a rabbit warren that appears to be designed by a reincarnated Cold War NATO or Warsaw Pact general who's engineered their warren to be a really good place to sit out a Third World War. What else can you say about a buck rabbit that digs an emergency exit tunnel and then backfills it? When dealing with a genius warrior rabbit, yeah, you might have to actually apply a shovel in order to get your toilet properly serviced. And of course it does have to be serviced properly because it was inspected last 6 years ago. At the time of inspection, your on-site sewage system (composting toilet) was operating satisfactorily. Risk to the community low. Though of course, to be honest, I'd spent the previous 26 years living in not quite fear and trembling, but absolute trepidation, waiting for the inevitable day, the one I knew that would one day arrive, when out of the blue, with no warning, the Glen Innes 7 Council toilet inspector would roll silently up my driveway and ask of me what I did with me shit. And it turned out he was happy with it. Who knew? 26 years of being worried for nothing. because what I was doing was not actually infringing on anybody else's amenity within the Shire. As I said, it puts the nutrient underground, it satisfactorily persecutes a noxious feral pest, doesn't cost me anything. Bar a little bit of an outing, half an hour perhaps worth of work, 3/4 if it takes you a while to find a rabbit burrow. And of course, you've got 2 or 3 weeks to pay attention to your country and scout out the lie of the land and find where the rabbits have moved to next. And if you find that you've got to carry your turds 250 yards in order to find a rabbit burrow to put them down, that's better than most people can say they've done in their personal efforts to eradicate the rabbit or to work in harmony with the rabbit to put the nutrients back into the soil. And so say all of us. Warbles on all at the YouTube. Ciao.